Welcome to So You Want to Be a Candidate. This is Aberdeen University Students Association's webinar on becoming a candidate in our exec officer elections or NUS delegate elections. In this session, we'll explain a lot about manifestos, campaigns training, and more. Special thanks go to the elections and democracy team at Anglia Ruskin Students' Union, who provided us with a lot of the basic materials for this, which we've adapted across to our own slides. So before you start this webinar, you're going to want to make sure that you have a notepad and some of your key ideas and your thoughts about why you might be interested in running next to you. And at certain points, I might ask you to pause and make a few notes. So without further ado, we'll get started on our session. What we'll cover today is all about being a candidate, support, rules, and how to do stuff, and also how important your manifesto is. So my name is Jenny Crace. I'm the Education Development Coordinator here at the Student Association, and I'm more than happy to be of assistance to any students interested in developing their manifesto or their thoughts around their candidacy for any of the roles that are available. First of all, in order to run in these elections, you have to be nominated by 30 students. You have to be registered your student yourself. It's useful to know that all students are members of AUSA unless they choose to discontinue their membership, so the majority of your mates who are students will be fine to nominate you. We do verify some of the signatures at random. If you want more information, the AUSA elections website has all the information. It's www.ausa.org.uk/elections. So let's start off with being a candidate. Being a candidate for one of these roles is fun. It's hard work with a potentially big payoff for you, and it does require some organization. You don't need campaigning experience or tons of friends to win an election. Most people who vote for you will never have met you personally. Organizing your campaign. Campaigns are about people, your campaign team, people who are your potential voters and constituents, issues, as in what students need from you or from the association or from the university, and plans, what you want to do for students. Campaigns are not about flashy posters, clever slogans, or money, or buying your way into a role. They're not about making promises that you can't possibly keep, and they're definitely not about tearing down other candidates or the association or the university. The other thing that campaigns are really about, and what is implied here but I haven't said yet, is change. Particularly with student associations, it's about students making change. Your manifesto or your manifest? No. Your manifesto might outline a statement of who you are, why you think you're suited to the role, your key priorities for the year ahead, and what needs you think you've identified among students that you want to address. Things that you shouldn't include in your manifesto, ideas with no information about how you're going to get there, how you're going to make them happen. And alternatively, you also shouldn't include a list of each and everything you want to do. You need to strike a good balance between general, big picture ideas and key points about how you plan to deliver those ideas. Preparing your manifesto. So at this point, I'm going to ask you some questions and you should make some notes on your paper. Pledges and promises often feature in a manifesto. The questions I'd ask you here are, do you have a main focus? What's your big sell? And what will you do for students? And the other questions I'm going to ask you have to do with what experience you have. Not just the AUSA experience, although if you've been involved, then great, you should tell us all about that. We want to know what life experience you have that you bring to the table more than any other candidate. What do you bring that no one else does? And what do you think an officer needs to succeed in the role that you're running for? If you take a few minutes now to reflect on these questions, then come back to this webinar, you'll be starting on making good notes for your manifesto if you haven't already done that. So let's understand why exactly everyone needs a manifesto. Manifestos are really important because they let people know what you stand for. We want to encourage informed voting. It shows students that you've thought through what it is that you're planning on doing in office. It informs the material and information that you give to students during voting week. And a good manifesto can sway voters. Now, if you want to win your election, you should definitely be aiming to sway the voters in these elections. Campaigning. So now we're going to talk about campaigning on the ground. Okay, you've done your planning, you've got your manifesto ready, you've probably started talking to your campaign team. We're going to talk about the materials and the work that goes into campaigning. So the common things here are posters or banners, flyers, and then actual pounding the pavement, getting out there, talking to people, getting your message out. So a few things here to note, and we'll go into detail for each of these in just a minute. Posters quickly become background noise and they're a passive way of communicating. So you might have the most beautiful posters since the invention of paper, but if you don't have a campaign to go with them, then you're not going to nail this. Flyers reinforce your points, but they don't make your points for you. And they do get recycled when your back is turned. Tons and tons and tons of flyers get given out every year. And I think the rainforests probably cry at the number of things that just get binned. Pounding the pavement, campaigning, talking to people, getting out there, takes time, energy, and you need help to do it. But it is the thing that gets your message out. So with posters, first of all, once you've got them out on campus, move away from your posters, okay? You don't need to stand next to it and campaign based on it and point to it and say, look, it's me. You want to make sure you get your materials approved, not using offensive slogans or things that could come across the wrong way. It should look consistent or consistently weird, so your campaign should have, I don't know, a color, a brand, a slogan, whatever it is. Your posters and everything else you produce for your campaign should reflect that. A poster should not be full of text. It should contain a key message and stand alone. Brevity should be easy to see from a distance, doesn't require you to stand next to it and explain it to people or contextualize it. Those are the key points when coming up with a poster design. Flyers. Again, with the flyers, don't overprint and waste paper. They shouldn't contain your whole message. They should contain the key things you want people to remember that they take away after talking to you. You want to use them to reinforce your point. Remember that lots of these get handed out. Make sure you keep them on brand for your campaign and try not to hand them to people who already have loads of other flyers. And the key when handing them out is to always be polite and make sure you're using them to punctuate, not deliver your entire argument. Pounding the pavement. When you're talking to people, I'm going to say a few things about this because it's more difficult for some people than for others. And this is actually something that a lot of people are really scared of, but actually proves to be the most fun thing and the thing that helps you grow and learn the most about yourself during your campaign. When you're out talking to people, make sure that you're polite. This should be obvious, but tension runs high and you get really tired on a campaign. So be polite, be friendly, even if you get turned down 10 times. That one time you don't get turned down is a vote, and that person is going to remember talking to you. Have an elevator pitch. This is the time that it takes you to explain your core message, and you should be able to do it between when you get on the elevator at the bottom ground floor of the building until you get up to the 10th floor. That's an elevator pitch. It's probably about 30 seconds, 60 seconds. It's very short. The key takeaway message for whoever it is you're trying to convince to vote for you. Give them something to take away as a reminder. So this is the point at which you've given your elevator pitch. You say, thanks so much for your time. Here's a flyer with my key points. I really hope you'll vote for me. Make sure that you consider voting in the other roles in the election as well, yada, yada. You want to be personable. People are people, not votes. Now, obviously, you're trying to get them to vote, but make sure that you talk to them where they are, what they're doing, what they're thinking about. Find out what they think about these issues, if they have an opinion on them at all. And if you know people or you see them around, follow up on conversations where it's appropriate and possible. If you see someone you talk to in campaigning week and you get elected later on, then go back and talk to them if you see them on campus. Say, hey, thanks so much for listening to me when I was campaigning. Listen, I've got elected and this is a major issue I'm going to push forward. I'd love your information. I'd love your opinions about it. And you will encounter people that are kind of doubters and who aren't really keen on student association politics. You have to accept when campaigning that not everyone will love you and not everyone will care. That's okay. You're not necessarily looking to convert everyone, although if you're campaigning well, then it will serve to convert a lot of people to be convinced to vote in the elections, although they may or may not vote for you. But reconcile yourself to the fact that not everyone is going to be into it. Campaign teams. Campaigning is fun but tiring. So you do need to get a campaign team together. Now, a campaign team could be a core of 3 people plus yourself, or it could be a core of 15 people. The largest campaign teams are not always the best. The key is organization. It's really, really important when you're campaigning that you draw on the support of friends and family and that you manage your time and your team's time well. Let people around you know that you'll be busy, and maybe even consider letting your lecturers know that you're going to be spending a lot of time out on the streets talking to students during this week. So You will perhaps need them to be patient with you, or you may ask for extensions to deadlines. They may or may not grant it to you, so make sure that you do manage your time in a way that allows you to do the things you need to do for your real life outside of campaigning as well. A lot of candidates in the past have said that it helps to talk to friends who are outside the campaign for relief, people who are in no way involved, people from back home who want to talk to you about the Futurama reruns and what's happening in the next season of Orange is the New Black, and don't want to talk to you about student politics at all. It's really healthy to get that outside perspective and not have tunnel vision during campaign week. The other thing that's really important that people forget is sleeping and eating properly. There's a lot of people that can't do without sleep and food for extended periods of time, and some students will push themselves to the very brink of sanity with campaigning. 24-hour campaigning, making sure you're out and about every single night, that you're out with the sports teams one night and the clubs and societies the next, and that you're at this late night event another, is no guarantee of success, but it is a really, really good way to make yourself quite ill and exhaust you. And the other thing is, be ready for tension and feeling like you're going to snap at people, and try not to do it to your team. Everyone gets stressed during this period. It's really important to most candidates that they win. Everyone's working really hard. Try and remember that everyone's coming from the same position of wanting to win, but don't forget that the other candidates are people too, and if you see someone struggling, ask them if they're okay. Just be friendly, be human, be kind. So this is a little bit about good campaigners, okay? The most successful and best campaigns that I've seen run are where campaigners talk about their plans, themselves, and their hopes for the future, and they're linking that back to the students that they're talking to. They don't talk about the other candidates because the other candidates are irrelevant. You don't have to respond to everything another candidate does in order to set yourself up as the best or preferred or ideal candidate. So you should be concerned about how your ideas fit in with the ideas of the students you want to vote for you, and that's it. You should use social media effectively and respectfully. And it's important to keep in mind that many people feel their social media pages and accounts are their space. Don't invade their boundaries. Apply the principle of the rules to their actions and their team's actions. This is about the elections rules. There's a lot of rules in the elections and things about what budget you can spend and accounting for your receipts and everything, and not using resources that other people don't have access to. It's really important that you think about why the rule is there and not just the specific wording of the rule. Similarly, you are responsible for your entire team's actions, and it's good that you take responsibility for that and preempt any silly behavior that could potentially end up in a sanction against you as the candidate. And finally, it's important to follow the elections rules without trying to bend or break them. If you feel like a rule is unreasonable, you can always take it up with the elections committee, but we really encourage candidates to talk to each other, and rather than being on the lookout for what other people are doing wrong, make sure that you're doing everything right. Just wrap up with a few key dates here. So there are 2 sets of elections happening concurrently. Nominations close for NUS delegate elections on Thursday the 27th of February at 5 p.m. And for exec committee, they close Thursday the 6th of March at 5 p.m. Candidate meetings will take place on the day following the close of nominations for the respective elections. NUS delegate candidates meetings takes place on the Friday of the 28th of February. We will confirm the time on the website and in an email to you once nominations close, so please make sure they're usually in the afternoon, and it will be in the Butch Art Center. Similarly, the exec committee one will be Friday the 7th of March at a time yet to be determined. And please note, campaigning, formal campaigning with materials and telling people that you're running for the role starts at 1 minute past midnight on Monday of the voting weeks. So there's 2 different voting weeks. So if you're running for NUS delegate elections, you can campaign from Monday the 3rd of March, but voting will open on Tuesday the 4th of March at 9 a.m. and close at Thursday the 6th of March at 5 p.m. If you're running for an exec role, then you'll be campaigning between Monday the 17th of March. Voting will open on Tuesday the 18th of March at 9 a.m. and close on Thursday the 20th at 5 p.m. The results of the exec elections will be announced on the night of the elections at the results after party. If you guys have any questions, feel free to get in touch with us. We hope this has been helpful, and if you want any help with manifesto writing or understanding exactly what goes into it, feel free to get in touch with us. Thanks for your time.